use astrology as a yes and, right? Like it doesn't dictate my life, but it's a part of my life, like so many other things.
So my past like 2 serious boyfriends have had alcohol issues. When I was talking to my therapist, my dad, by the way, died when I was 11. I would never have connected this, but she was like, well, you're trying to save your dad. Hello, Starlets. I'm Allie, and welcome to my new podcast, StarStruck. Every week, an in-person guest joins me as we delve into the most intriguing aspects of their birth chart. At Open Mind, we value your support. Share your thoughts on social media and remember to rate, review, and follow StarStruck to help others discover the show. Welcome, Sabrina. I am so excited to have you here. I am such a fan of yours, and I'm so excited to dive into your birth chart. But before we do, tell me a little bit about your relationship with astrology.
Ooh, great question. My mom is big in astrology. She loves her tarot cards. I have a tarot card tattoo. Like,
oh my gosh, let me see.
Oh, I can't. I would be showing it off, but I'll show you after. It was my first tattoo. And
no way.
Wait,
what tarot card is it?
Strength.
So cool.
That's
what
Leo
moon. Oh my God.
I just resonated. It was something my sister and I got together because it reminded us of our mom.
Aww.
And it's just, I've always grown up knowing that this existed, but it doesn't mean I have to identify with anything, which is what I really loved. And I use astrology as a yes and, right? Like it doesn't dictate my life, but it's a part of my life, like so many other things.
I love that. It's a tool.
Yeah.
It's all tools, and it's fun, and it's cosmic guidance.
100%. I think where I start to see the pendulum swing, of course, like dating relationship coach. I talk to people every day. I love to use it to learn about ourselves, like attachment styles, like anything else, empower you. But when we start to do like, I don't date Capricorns, it's like, ugh.
No, I agree with you completely. I mean, we can make those jokes. I get that there's like the fun part of astrology that's like that, but I believe that we're all compatible. I think everybody's compatible. We can obviously vibe with energies better than others, but it's all about learning how to connect to one another and how we can connect to ourselves. So that's the key. But at the end of the day, astrology should connect all of us. So like, that's not the part of astrology that I like to focus on.
No, because there's 12 signs and 9 billion people. Right. There's a ratio.
Thank you. Math. Yes. And also we all have every sign in us. Like we have every zodiac sign in our charts. You know, it's just about where the energy is heavy.
I'm excited for this. I had my chart read a summer 2023.
Oh, okay.
And it was, I remember
a birth chart reading?
Birth chart reading.
Okay.
And it was a party and they were like, she's amazing. You should go. I was like, sign me up. You really don't have to say more than that to me. I'm in.
Same. Yeah.
And I remember she was just like looking at it, and I had just started my career like 5 months prior. And she was like, the next year is going to be the biggest for your career. And then like clockwork, she was not wrong. Everything was amazing. And then the day that I got my cease and desist on the name of my podcast was the day that the transition happened. And I was no longer in that house. So I am really excited to see what's upcoming.
Holy cow. Okay, wow. Okay, so I know that you've already had your birth chart read. I'm not going to go over then all the basics with you. I think let's do your big 3.
Okay.
Let's like do a little
okay,
brush up on it. But I've been studying your birth chart and I am really excited. And let me just start by saying like you're in the perfect career. Yay. Like I'm so proud of you. Are you from LA?
No, I'm from Florida originally, moved to New York.
Okay, yeah, that's what I knew. It was like somewhere East Coasty. Let's start with the sun. Okay, that's of course it's where we shine. It's where we feel our best. It's where we feel happiest. And you're a Taurus sun. You get to have nice things in life. Taurus is ruled by Venus. It is the planet that loves nice things. It's the planet that's here to spoil us. And it is all about the finer things in life. Because you're a Taurus sun, you are like becoming more Taurus pretty much every day. Like you're tapping into your power and into your potential. But with Taurus, it's not just about having the nice things. It's about working really hard to have the nice things. And it is work hard, play hard. And I know that you work hard because you were just telling me all the things that you do yourself. And it's really impressive. But it's earth energy. So it's grounded. It's practical. Plant the seed, water it, nurture it. You're building an empire.
I've definitely, that I can relate to and I feel, because I love to give really beautiful things. Like I like people to feel what I feel, to feel loved, to feel adored, to feel really special. And I think for me, I've never been somebody like, we never grew up buying nice things. Like it was just not, my parents were very like, you work your ass off for this. Yep. One day you'll be able to get it yourself.
Totally.
So that.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I feel that too. I mean, I grew up privileged. I grew up grateful. We had nice things, but it was always ingrained in me. I grew up with a single mom and it was always ingrained in me, like you have to have your own finances. You have to work really, really hard to get the things that you want in life. Capricorn, Taurus energy. It's like we're out here working, okay? But we are having fun too. Okay, moon sign, Leo. Love. My mom is a Leo moon also. And okay, wait, your mom is here.
My mom is here.
My
mom is a
Mom.
Leo.
And she's a Leo. There we are. Love. We tend to have our moon signs tend to be resonant with our mom's sun sign or rising sign. It's wild. You're an extension of your mother. She passed down her Leo bright light to you. And now you are an extension of her and you're meant to shine, not just for yourself, but there's a piece of her with you too. And she is your biggest fan. And I love that she's literally here right now. And I'm looking at her. I'm like, she's so proud of you.
Yeah.
And she's believed in you since the moment you were born. It's like, of course she's going to shine. Like, what else is she going to do with our bright light? Like, we've got to go. We've got to be seen. And Leos, they don't get enough credit, I feel like, in astrology. Like, they get all the stereotypes of like they're being attention seeking or no, because it's natural to them. They are ruled by the sun. So they're going to be seen regardless whether they like it or not. So having a Leo moon, it's different than a Leo sun. A Leo sun is where we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves, right? But like we're still shining and we are the star. But when it's a Leo moon, like you don't have to be the loudest in the room. It's a little more subtle. I know, Virgo rising, we'll get to that. But it's a little more subtle. It's like you are just magnetic. Like you can walk into a room and the Leo shines through naturally. The moon sign, it's the most important because it rules our emotions and our mental health. And so whatever sign our moon is in, that's how we nurture ourselves. And because you're a Leo, the work that you do and the passion that you have behind it, the drive, entertainment related, love that you ended up in a big city. I find Leos usually do get pulled to a big city, fashion, sports. Yeah, they look good. Like it's your natural gift.
Thank you. I was like, I got a light and I got anxiety from my mother. And I love her. Don't get me wrong. But I did get both. But I find it interesting what you're saying because I have 2 Scorpio siblings, and that was talk about a monkey wrench thrown in. Right. And then there was me, and they're both older than me.
Okay.
So it was a lot of me who can yell the loudest to get the attention, who can compete against, right? It was a very chaotic, loud household with just variables. Yeah. But it's very true. Like, I love my mom to the moon and back, and I feel this like kinship connection.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like telepathic almost, for sure.
Well, my past life was fashion too. I have a clothing line. Yeah. So I was like.
Yeah, it's right. And honestly, Taurus too, just having that Venus ruled sun, it's like you just have good taste. So like you're going to do something with it, right? Like it's the Leo moon, but then it's the Taurus sun also. I find that's just cool. Sweet.
Can you just do me a favor and just like come around with me all the time just let me know how
I'll be in your pocket.
Perfect. Like this is your Leo moon. You're shining, baby.
Yes, you're shining always. I will say the moon is not the easiest planet. It rules the ocean tide, so it's a wave. But what you need to just always remember is that you are the sun. That's your natal, like that's your birthright. That's your energy, but it's meant to be seen. Now, where the moon is living in your chart specifically, this is the part of the chart that's the most spiritual. It's the 12th house. And the 12th house, it's my favorite house. I said it. It is not the easiest. It is the house it's where we leave the physical world and we are going to nirvana, outer space, the universe, like whatever you want to call it. It's not real. It's make-believe, it's dreams, it's our mind. I think this is absolutely too why you're pulled to psychology and understanding why people are the way they are. The moon is how we relate, it's our emotions, and the 12th house, it's all about empathy and understanding people. But it is not a walk in the park placement. The moon is already heavy. It's already emotional. And then the 12th house is like the ocean. It's vast. We can drown. We can swim. We do both usually. We try to swim more than we drown, but it's lessons and we're working on that. And the moon in the 12th, so creative, so magical, like truly psychic abilities, intuition is heightened. These are the gifts and the magic of the 12th house. It is the most powerful house. But if we ignore the 12th house, that is when it can get a little chaotic. The 12th house rules things like mental health institutions and prisons and, things like that aren't fun. We don't want to go there. So to make sure we don't go there, we have to have a spiritual relationship. We have hygiene, basically. So I'm not surprised you're pulled to things like this. Not surprised that you're, interested in psychology and relationships. I have a lot of planets in the 12th house too. And so usually people with placements there, they're going a little deeper. It's like there's more. We have to go below the surface a little bit, but it's magical. always trust your intuition. Like always.
I've learned that over the years, like especially a question I get all the time is like, how do I know if it's my gut and intuition versus my anxiety?
What do you say?
For me, typically, like the anxiety comes with like this body sensation and narrative, right? Of like, maybe I'll get like chest palpitations or my heart will get heavy. And then I'll start to reel of like, I knew you were too much. There's something wrong. Oh my God, they're not going to like you. Versus intuition is a very calming, this doesn't feel right, right? And it's like, I feel it's a different place. It's a very guttural in my belly, not anxiety. And it's like this doesn't feel right, or you need to move, or, you know, I lived in New York for 12 years. Just walking around, you had to learn to listen to your body because you could maybe not, right? If you were just spaced out and walking around and not paying attention and there's someone following you or, right? It's a major city. It's not safe. So I've really learned that trying to hone into my intuition means listening without the chatter, finding the quietest voice that's not really screaming the loudest, because that's really the one that's trying to guide you. Whereas the anxiety is, she is loud and she wants to be heard. And that doesn't always mean that that's
and
factual.
that's not good.
No.
Yeah, it's like that's the part of us that's fear-based and the ego-based. And it's like we want to get rid of all of that so we can listen to our true selves. That's fascinating, because I always have difficulties differentiating, like, oh my God, am I just anxious, or is this a sign? And then I'll be like, okay, universe, give me a sign if it's this or that. And then it just makes it worse. Like I'm working on just trusting and listening to my intuition, because I can recognize it. Yeah, but it is hard in the day-to-day life, you know?
Because it comes usually, there's like a pattern associated with it, right?
Yeah.
Like if we look at how many times, especially like when I was dating, right? It's just the easiest example to use.
Yeah.
But when I was dating and it was the same thing consistently, right? Like they didn't text me. I'm now creating narratives. I'm filling in the blank. The story I'm telling myself is this. I now can't, like, I can't sleep. I can't eat. It's like, I'm dysregulated. My body feels like there's a danger.
Yeah.
Knowing that, being really clear and learning about yourself is also part of this. Because you can tell me this all day and I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know what my intuition sounds like.
Yep.
Or I can't differentiate between, but being able to actually tap into yourself. And that's why I love astrology. It's not about me going, okay, Allie, what's going on for you?
What's right.
But it's really, thank you for this information. Now, how can I cultivate and learn how to really listen to my interior and take this information to say, I knew I was on the right path.
Yes, I love that. And by the way, the 12th house rules things like meditation. It's like where Buddhist monks live. Okay, so like that's the 12th house. It's very eat, pray, love. So like we're meant to tune in. That's your moon is living there. So yeah, like what you're saying is you already know how to listen to that. But like if you didn't, that's where astrology can help. It's like, okay, maybe you should try meditating, or, you know, maybe you need to turn your phone off and go take a nap, or the 12th house is all about isolation.
I'm pretty good at that.
I was going to say, because you have a very social sun and moon, you're still a Leo moon, so you're still meant to connect and be social, but you need your alone time. Absolutely.
More than anything.
Like, non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. Like I, for so long, thought I was extroverted, and I'm like, I feel, no, I don't like people. That actually became pretty clear for me. I actually don't like being around people. I don't get energized. I enjoy connection.
Yep. And learning,
but like small talk, frivolity, like, spare me, send me home. I'm in bed by 8. I'm up at 4. Like, leave me alone. I'd rather just stay home, truthfully.
And watch a movie or listen to music. The 12th house is really creative.
It's funny you say that. I was just telling my partner yesterday, I'm like, man, all of my life, what do I remember? Because we were talking about something in high school. And I said, oh yeah, I got in trouble because I'm aging myself. I used to bring my CD player. Ugh. Here we are, right? I used to bring my CD player to school and I had my headphone that was like trailing through my shirt and I'd get in trouble. But I remembered consistently, I was like, what was the path? I always turned to music. Music was my escape. Music was like, I had a very, I'll just say, chaotic upbringing. Like I did not have a healthy environment. We had a really tough father who was showing that in multiple different ways that were not conducive for a healthy environment. I'll just say that. And music was my escape. Music was my way to reconnect with myself and to come back into my body, because it allowed me to just be for a second and quiet the chatter and focus on something else.
Yes.
So that doesn't surprise me.
That's how you nurture yourself. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Me and my headphones were BFF, right? We go for walks every day. That bilateral movement. Like I love to connect in different ways. And I think that also that Taurus feeling your body.
Yeah, comfort is important to you and safety is important to you.
I never had it.
And with the moon in the 12th, by the way, there already has been, we know that, you just said that, a lot of lessons around, okay, how do I nurture myself and how do I create my safe place? So for you, like finding those little moments of joy that like, you're like, wait, I'm safe. It's just me. Like I can go listen to music and I can do this. And The 12th house, if you go Googling it, yeah, people tend to fear it, but I love it. But it's because most people don't want to do the work. And they don't want to go deep, and they don't want to go see therapist or learn about, they don't want to quiet the outside noise. They'd rather like escape and turn to drugs or alcohol or watch TV, which is fine for a little bit. And then eventually we got to, listen to ourselves.
Yeah, what you resist persists. The more you ignore, right? The more we like really ignore these noises, the more that chatter comes, like especially when I was doing the work. Prior to that, I didn't want to. It was safer for me to stay in my patterns and stay in my shit than it was for me to acknowledge that I actually did have control over my life, right? Because I think we're so bred, similar to astrology, what we were talking about in the beginning. You can look at it as, well, life's happening to me. I have no control.
Yes,
and I do believe that there is a fate and a destiny, right? Like I think certain aspects are written for us. But I also believe in free will. And I also believe in taking what happens to you and actually like learning from it, growing from it, evolving from it. I've always found if this is the growth I'm at, sign me up. I'd unsubscribe. I don't want to peak here.
Bored. Yeah. Right? Bored. We're done. What else is there to do? Like if we're not growing. Yeah. And I agree. Even in astrology, I believe in fixed fate. I believe we all have a destiny, but I do believe 1,000% in free will. And I think we're going to play out our destiny regardless. Like we're going to get there. We're already there. We're doing it. We've been doing it. We're on the path, but we get to have free will and we don't have to be scared of astrology. It's just like, oh, these are options. It gives us options.
I love this girl.
And it validates us. And it reminds us we're not crazy. Like we're right where we're meant to be. You having your moon in the 12th house. I mean, it was always your destiny. We can say that to have to go a little bit deeper than everyone else. Having the moon in the 12th house, it's an emotional responsibility, but like it's in Leo. So you have to share your experience with others and allow, yourself to be vulnerable, which you're obviously doing and making a difference doing that.
And for anybody too that's listening that's like, I don't know how to do that. Sometimes it's also really okay to know that that's okay that you don't, right? Like I think for so long I had to do this, like, no, you need to know. You need to know your path. Why don't you have a purpose? What is coming up, right? Where are you going with this? And so I put so much stress and pressure on myself. Like when I started my clothing company software, no, it has to do well. You have to succeed, even though truly in my gut.
Software, that's so cute. Sorry.
Even though in my gut, like I didn't genuinely believe that was my path, right?
Yeah.
But what I really felt was that doing that company allowed me to understand how to run a business. Great. Cool. Check that off. Then that led me into podcasts and panels. Then that led me into being in front of people.
Oh, wow.
Then that led me into really starting to go, wait a minute, relationships and dating, right? These all and work all intertwined. Then that led me to where I'm at. And so it's okay for anyone listening that, let's say you look and you're like, but my destiny is to be this. That doesn't mean that destiny had to happen at 20.
Yes.
That could mean at 50 you turn into that, at 60, at 34, right? I think it's also just knowing and feeling in your gut that there is something out there for you. And if you can just let go of the things you cannot control, then you actually can control the things that you can, which is you. And then you can move and groove differently to make that shit happen.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Poetry. I agree completely. And I'm going through my Saturn return. So I'm going through like a huge moment in my life where I've freaking had to learn to surrender. Like we're surrendering here and I'm trusting the universe and I'm just going to flow. And if you would have told me like 3 to 5 years ago, especially 5 years ago, but even 3 years ago, that I would be doing astrology professionally, I would be like, shut up, that's so cool. But like, no, I wouldn't believe it. And there was a time where like I always wanted to, but it's just like, that's not real. Like I need a real job. I'm a Capricorn. No, I went to college. So it was hard, but like if you just surrender and find that voice, like it's so worth it. 100%. I'm so glad I did that. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, is because the moment that astrology helped me find my purpose. And so like you, without purpose, like I felt so empty. And maybe that's the Capricorn. See, it's like, maybe that's the Capricorn because I know I value work and like,
for me, I'm like, that's my perfectionist and my father, but yes.
Yeah, I know. And you're a Virgo rising.
Yes. Oh, right. We didn't talk about that.
So the rising sign is really, that's your motivation for living. It's the first energy you've ever met. It's actually the last energy you'll ever know. So think of your Virgo rising as like, that's what's waking you up in the morning and like pulling you out the door. Virgo is a helper. Every zodiac sign has like a role, there's so much to each sign, but simply put, Virgo is a helper. So they're here to help. Yes, they're perfectionists. And yes, they can be type A, but like, if you don't want their help, don't ask, or you don't need to take it, but their job is to literally help. So the moment you were born, you were helping and, hard on yourself. There's a lot of pressure we put on ourselves with earth energy, especially if it's our rising sign. But hard work, discipline, you've been taking care of even yourself from a really early age. So you know how to take care of people. But for Virgo risings, it's always totally the like fill your cup first, because that's the lesson with Virgo risings.
That's how I learned to say no.
Yeah.
Like literally, when I learned what a boundary was, when I learned to be like, it's okay. Like I didn't grow up with that. You were not allowed. You would get hit. You would get yelled at. Like there was no space for that. Was that environment that I grew. There was no space to have an identity.
No, yeah.
And so as an adult, learning what that looked like, right? And it's interesting you say it's the helper, because one thing that I kind of chuckle at, like obviously I have a big social following, and the amount of people, like you'll get the, oh my God, this is so helpful. And then the people that will talk shit, you're like, hey, just keep scrolling. Right. You don't want the help. That's okay. That doesn't mean I need to water myself down because you're uncomfortable.
Yes.
And that lesson took a minute of like, stand in your power and who you are. Because some people are going to love you and some people are going to hate you. You may as well be who the fuck you want to be if the people are not going to like you anyways.
I'm Pisces rising. We're opposites, actually. We're compatible. And it's hard. Pisces like don't know boundaries. They're the ocean, right? So it's like, no boundaries. So I'm learning how to have like set my own boundaries with the like comments that I'll allow myself to view. And I'm a Capricorn. I have tough skin. Like nothing really can, like I'm okay. But sometimes it'll get to you where you're like, okay, just stop. Like you get mad. And it's like, I don't want to give them that energy either. So I'm just trying, boundaries are
but I don't
a
read
big
comments.
thing. No.
I don't read comments. I don't read DMs. There's no point in me doing that to myself, right? If you want to say something, great. If you don't, that's cool too.
Yeah.
My problem for me is like, I internalize it. Like I have core beliefs that there's something wrong with me. I'm too much. I'm not good enough, right? That's that fun amalgamation. So when you're reading these comments, one, receiving positive can feel really uncomfortable because I'm like, I'm not used to that. I don't think that about myself.
Yep.
But then when you read the one of like, I can't stand you, you're like, there it is.
Yeah.
Thank you. Reaffirming cognitive bias. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So what do I have in my control? I don't need to ingest it.
I don't need to ingest any of it. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Have a great day. If you like the video, we appreciate it. If you don't, swipe on. You have a choice.
See, it's easy for you. I have a question. How does your mom do with that? Because my mom, I'm like, Mom, please don't read things and don't, because she'll love the good comments. She'll be like, right, of course that's true. And then she'll see a bad one and get sad, and I'm like, I don't want her to look.
Yeah.
I don't know. How does your mom do with that?
Oh, my mom should just, screw them. Who cares?
Okay,
like,
yeah.
She's very like, be yourself. Who gives a shit? Yeah, like very
just. Oh, that's so good. I love that.
Very, because I think she also knows that like being strong for me really matters, right? If she then gets super impacted, whereas like we have also a boundary in the house where like my partner reads all the comments. Like he works for me. He works for the company. I needed the support.
Yeah.
He reads everything. He'll monitor because he's like, hey, and he'll read and say, hey, I think maybe you should know about this.
Okay.
I get so dysregulated. My whole body starts to feel it. Like it's not conducive for my creativity, for my growth. Because also too, when you start to care so much about, and it's the same with dating, right? When I'm so focused on, are you going to choose me? I've already lost myself and I've disconnected from what I really want and need.
Yeah.
So if I can focus on what works for me and then does this align, great, I'm in for it. And if not, again, this isn't a cult. I don't care if you're here or not.
Right.
Remove yourself because you get a choice.
Yeah. You can go and you can come back when you're ready to take it. And then if you ever are, like 100%. That's fine. It's like the door's always open. I like that. Speaking of, okay, your husband.
Boyfriend, but
boyfriend. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I say partner, and people are like, "Hubby." I'm like, "Not yet."
So in astrology, the 7th house, that's the house that represents relationships and love, and it's and marriage. Traditionally speaking, that house is very literally like marriage and unionship and contracts. In more modern astrology, we can actually see business partners and just people that we are going into contracts with, people we see on the day to day, but usually intimacy and relationships. You have Venus here.
I thought so.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Literally lovely. It's actually the first thing I noticed when I looked at your chart. I was like, that makes so much sense. Of course, she has like a dating podcast. She's a Virgo rising, ruled by Mercury. Mercury's ruling your chart. Venus in the 7th. It all makes sense. But then you have Mars. But I like it. Mars is, by the way, the planet of, I call Mars the problematic child planet.
That adds up.
He's busy. He if we aren't paying attention to Mars, he's like coloring on the walls and he's making a mess. But if we pay attention to Mars, he gets shit done and he's really helpful and he's really great. But Mars is combative and it can be angry, but he's our energy, literally. So when Mars is in the 7th, this can show up as fighting. Lots of energy, but it can also show up as passionate, sex. So I think usually we see like all range of that with Mars in the 7th, but even the way that you're like vulnerable and open and like if Mars wasn't there, you wouldn't probably be doing this because Venus would be there. And guess what? It would be such a simple, easy area that you wouldn't even have to really think about it. But because you have Mars there, you're like, wait, Venus overall, She's beautiful. So she's like, I'm always going to find harmony. We're always going to find resolve. I'm learning. But Mars is there to keep things spicy and interesting. And I just love that dynamic because you're obviously doing like also the fact that he works with you is great because that's always my advice. If there's ever a lot of energy in the 7th house, when you find your cosmic +1, you have to work together because there's a lot of energy in your 7th house, which means that's going to be a huge focus in the grand scheme of your life. And you got to pay attention to it. And so working together, traveling together, having plans together, like just getting excited to do stuff together, trying new hobbies, making new friends together. Like, yeah, that's the 7th house. How does that resonate?
Oh, 100%. He works for me. We're moving to LA together.
Love.
We live together now, but
Yeah.
it's the first relationship where I don't have to yell or scream to be heard, but I can have a very direct conversation with someone and be like, wow, thank you for
Yeah.
validating me. Thanks for not dismissing me. Thank you for seeing me and hearing me and allowing me the space to come to you. I think when we first started dating, he's very avoidant. He's Gemini.
Okay.
Very like, he doesn't believe in astrology. He's atheist. It's very like, I need facts and I want science. And then I come in being like,
Yeah.
floaty and vibey and like, I don't care, whatever. We're 5 minutes late, no big deal. And so we clashed for a minute, right? At first, I, truth be told, was not into him. And I was like, this guy is not my type. And oh, he's too rigid. He's way too like OCD.
Yeah.
Now he's grown so much. He's evolved. He's grown. We work together so beautifully. Like he's the CEO or COO of the company. He runs shit every day.
Gemini rules your 10th house, which is the house of career. And so that's the house he's activating in your birth chart.
That
which
makes
is
sense.
literally your career.
Yeah. And we're trying to have a balance between, hey, go have your life, like go with your friends, go do something. But even today when I was driving here and he's like, wouldn't let go of me. And I was like, babe, you get time alone. He's like, but I don't want the time alone. I want you
that's
here.
So cute.
And I was like, oh, I finally.
You're like, but I'm a Taurus and a Virgo rising and I need my alone time.
I need my
I'm
alone.
very
Yeah, I was like,
independent.
thank you so much, but like, I need to go.
Yeah.
So we are, but like, it's interesting because I think on paper, right? Let's talk even the psychology component of it. Like I have that anxious attachment, right? I'm very like, tell me everything's gonna be okay. And please let me know. And he's the avoidant, like, I don't want to talk about it. I want to remove myself. No, thank you.
Gosh, why do they always find each other?
So that dynamic, it's
Yeah.
because, I mean, I can tell you why, but essentially in a very quick nutshell, like the avoidant has aspects the anxious wants and vice versa. I see in an avoidant person, oh, wow, you can be alone. Oh, wow, you don't need the validation. You don't need that constant. And he sees in me like, look, wow, you can love people. You can let people in. What ends up happening though, that's why it's called the anxious-avoidant trap, is then they start, one person gets triggered and they both reaffirm their core beliefs because usually from high anxiety, like anxious attachment, you probably had a caregiver that was removed, that was inconsistent, that was hot and cold. And then the anxious or the avoidant person typically has people that could be overbearing.
I'm avoidant.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm avoidant, and I attract the
Anxious person.
The anxious person.
Because somebody that's avoidant, two of you, you'd be like, well, I'm not going to call you and neither will you.
Totally.
Right? But it's a
Oh my
balance.
gosh.
It's a dance.
So am
It
I just
makes
always
sense.
going to invite in that like clingy kind of?
Well, you can also work towards secure, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like whatever your attachment style is, it's like astrology. Whatever the attachment style, the sign, again, information for ourselves of, oh, okay, as an avoidant, maybe when something gets really tough and I get triggered, oh, I revert back. Okay, where did I learn that from? Growing up, something like that. I'll use me as an example. Growing up, if I asked for a need to be met, my father would either hit us, leave, walk out. He was a textbook narcissist. Like, could not have it any other way. My mom at the time, right, she had her trauma and she would disassociate and people please. Like she's done a lot of work on herself to move out of that. But as a child, what did I learn? Oh shit, there's no safety here. Like I have to take care of myself. Okay, so scream loud, get someone to pay attention to you. Please don't leave me. Wait. But let me watch your facial expression because if I can anticipate when you're going to be mad, then maybe I can figure out what to do. And I'm like 3. So what ends up happening as an adult? That's sexy to me. Oh, you're removing yourself? Oh, you're being avoidant to me? Come to mama. Let me work harder to get you. Wow. Then as you work towards securing and finding that safety in yourself and saying, I don't need to run after somebody, I'm good as I am, both of you can actually start to come together. So he has tendencies and so do I, but I'm not going to self-identify as something.
Love that.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not anxious, I have anxiety because I can work through that and it's a pendulum that swings.
I love that.
So it's really important to like understand
I don't
yourself.
think I'm not avoidant, but I have avoidant tendencies and I'm working on them. Yeah.
Right. And it's really important to like even look at. So if you have an avoidant tendency where you get triggered, right, and something feels I have to run, that's even stopping and saying, where do I feel that in my body? Oh, whoa, my chest is like beating really fast. Okay, this reminds me of I was like 6, right? Or like, how old do I feel? Like my best friend, Britt Frank, she's a neuropsychotherapist and she always says, who has the mic? right? Who has the mic? I feel like I had the other day, I got angry with Brian, and I was like, man, I was like, I want to listen to some fucking Taking Back Sunday. And I was like, oh my God, you're emo, you're 13. And I was like, you're back and you're like a teenager
Wow.
again. You can feel it.
Yes.
You're like, I'm not seeing this correctly.
Yeah.
Because as the able-bodied adult, I would know I have a choice, and I would know that I can respond and not react. As a child, all that goes out. I just have coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
So I could go even further.
I love this. See, I've got the 12th house. I've got 12th house placements, moon in the 8th. And in another life, I would have probably studied psychology. Like this stuff does interest me so much, but I feel like astrology is my way of understanding it, but I love that. That's so cool.
To a lot of people, they think inner child work is woo-woo and ridiculous, right?
That's
it's
crazy.
Like,
yeah.
But to me, it saved my life.
Yeah.
So,
and if you don't ever have to turn to it, then lucky you. My God.
yeah. Oh, you had two parents that loved you and were
loved
consistent?
you
Wow,
and-
that sounds like a luxury.
Totally. Also, you have Venus in Pisces, by the way, which is exalted. If Venus could pick any zodiac sign to hang out with, she picks Pisces.
Ooh.
They're besties.
Oh.
It's just a really lovely placement. And so even in a sense of, again, the fact that you personally are so lovable, you're such a lover that you can attract so much love in your lifetime. Like it's actually, I know it might not feel like it, but it's on tap for you. Like so many people want to love you. And having Mars there is just so much energy. So there's a focus on, who gets this attention. Pisces is boundaries too, and learning to set boundaries. And
Came later in life.
yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. But ultimately, Venus in Pisces is a really lovely placement for happy, healthy, long-term marriages. You have a very beautiful 7th house.
Oh, thank you.
Even if people would think Mars in the 7th can be disruptive, it's good. It's kind of there to keep things fun,
If I didn't, like you said, if you let it untamed,
Yeah.
it has ruined every relationship I had prior where I would get really angry
Yes.
or irate.
I was going
or-
to ask, like, when you think back to your, I don't know, younger self or when you were dating, and how did Mars show up for you more in like your younger years?
Oh, knee-jerk reaction was like to get upset, to get angry, to act out, right? And like everything was outwards. I didn't understand what it meant to sit. I didn't know what the pause meant. I didn't know what. So like it would be instant where like even I look at myself today, like I had a colleague that did something that was just kind of messed up. And all day I'm like, I'm gonna sit on it. Like I don't need to handle it today. Like I've got other things to work on. Like this is not a priority. That's me showing up for myself. The old version would have been, no, I need to text you 1,000 times. We need to talk about this right now.
Yeah.
I can't sit still. I'm bouncing off the walls.
Wow.
And how does that play out? It's like, well, everybody is guilty until they're proven innocent. When I dated this guy, I texted him 173 times in a row because he tried to break up with me after like 4 dates, right? That was that anxiety of like, I'm not going to be okay. You need to tell me everything's going to be fine. I can't lose you. And it's like, I was talking to my dad, not him. I didn't know who this person was.
Okay. I have to tell you what my therapist just told me. I was just talking about it with my producer. And so my past like 2 serious boyfriends have had alcohol issues. And it made me, after this past relationship, I'm like going through a breakup right now. And I'm like sitting with myself and I'm like, okay, why am I attracting the same partner? And I was talking to my therapist. My dad, by the way, died when I was 11 from alcohol related things. And I would never have connected this, but she was like, you're trying to save your dad. Yeah. So like that just did something to me. And I was like, holy shit. I haven't drank since the breakup because I was like, I need to, process things in a healthy way. And like, how is that? Like, that's my projection or something? I don't know.
So
but it's wild.
It's called repetition compulsion. So it's a term that Freud did a couple of things outside of telling people that boys want to have sex with their mother, right? Like, but the other stuff he said was essentially you're going to keep dating the parts of you that need to be healed. And so you're going to keep dating the versions of yourself, right? So if your father had alcoholism, so then right now it's how can I fix? How can I heal? How can I save, right? That's familiar. That's a pattern. And that's how it's going to replay until you break the pattern and say, this doesn't work for me anymore. Me trying to save them doesn't change the fact that I couldn't save my dad.
Yeah.
And it's grieving that and sitting with that and allowing that little you to be like, that's not our job.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah. That's really beautiful. Yeah.
You got this.
Pisces too, by the way, it's just hard because we feel everything. And it's especially with Pisces with Mars because, and as a rising sign, if we don't process our emotions in a healthy way, we don't know how to, how to literally express emotion, which is Pisces' job. Pisces is literally their role is to heal. So we've got the Virgo, that's the helper. We've got the Leo moon, that's the performer. We got the Taurus sun, that's the worker. And then we have your Pisces, which is the healer. And it's all in that 7th house. So yeah, it's just really fascinating. It's all a puzzle. We're going to go to the 5th house. This is actually the house that's ruled by Leo. So the 5th house, I call it the fun house. Like this is where we have fashion and sports and movies and music, and it's entertainment. It's also where children live, and it's also where we see like women's reproductive system basically, and but also our inner child lives here too. And you have Uranus here, and Uranus, it's not a personal planet. This is not a planet that really you feel every day, but in like the grand scheme of your life, it's a big deal. Uranus is the planet that basically, it's where we are shaking up systems and where we're doing some changing, some growing, some evolving, some cutting cords. We're literally taking a system and we're completely reshaping it so that it can work better. And because you have Uranus in the 5th house, it's really interesting because I feel that you're doing some like groundbreaking work in that area of your life. Like in the grand scheme, that's really telling.
And it's funny because I feel like everything I do is such a disruptor, but not like I'm intentionally trying to do it.
Yes.
But I'm so tired of like, if he wanted to, he would. Clickbait.
Yeah.
Why they don't, the guy doesn't, if he doesn't text you good morning every day, he doesn't like you. And it's like, hey, not everybody can be chalked up to 140 characters or less. Yep. And not everybody is a bumper sticker slogan. We are nuanced, textured creatures that have so many layers to us that if I chalked it up to if a guy doesn't text me every day, doesn't like me, I would never be with my partner. So I really like to shake it up.
Ditto on that, by the way. Avoidant personality here. Just because I'm not texting you does not mean I don't like you. I just probably lost my phone. It's dead or I'm sad or I'm busy. Like literally not everybody is good at our phones. That's society and the pressure we feel. But like we weren't designed to move this quickly.
No, but that's also projection of the anxious person, right? Ooh, okay. Projecting onto the other person. Well, I would handle it this way. I would do that. And it's like your lived experience isn't everybody else's lived experience. You have your phone in your hand 24/7. Even if I do, you don't get access to me 24/7. And that's the problem is like, that's boundaries of saying, like I have 1.2 million followers on Instagram, and the amount of people that will write and be like, I can't believe I have to pay to talk to you. And it's like, I'm sorry, entitlement, first of all. Second of all, who the fuck are you?
I get that too, where it's like people are like, why are you like charging to do readings? And it's like, what? Like,
it's my time.
It's my time. And also, I'm learning right now to like work through those emotions through those comments and things of being like, no, this is,
and I was reading something and it was like entitlement is actually frustration, which makes sense when you think about it, right? If somebody is coming to you being like, why would I have to pay you for your time? They're frustrated. They're frustrated that they don't have the answers. I can hold space and compassion for those people, but I can also tell them to get bent, right? Like there's holding one of my favorite things when it comes to healing and doing the work. And I want to just clarify for anybody that's like, I don't know what any of this means. When you heal and you grow and you evolve, all of the work that you and I are both doing on ourselves isn't that this stuff goes away. It's that you and I can learn how to live with these emotions, these feelings, these things that come up in a more conducive space, right? And so with that comes knowing that like, I'm going to annoy people. I'm going to piss you off. But what really matters is taking care of my little, because all of my life I self-abandoned to make everybody else happy. And so that's going to replicate in your business, and you're going to feel that dysregulation in your business versus saying, well, if that doesn't work for you, find someone else. Right? I don't DM like massive trainers and say, program my workout for me.
Exactly.
And again, part of healing is holding two conflicting thoughts. I can say, I can have space for you and I understand you're hurting, but I can also say that's not appropriate behavior. I can miss you and also know you're not right for me. I can love you and also know it's that you're not the right connection for me. And I can feel like a family member. I can love you to the moon and back, but I can also know that boundaries are necessary. Otherwise, I cannot continue to show up. And that is why we do this work. That is why all of this matters, is because it's not about putting up walls or guards. It's about how can I show up more sustainably so that way I have the relationships that help me feel fueled as well.
God, you're remarkable.
No, thanks.
Like truly, like I feel you're healing me. You're doing things to me. I'm learning so much, like, and I need this right now. So also there's that.
Universe gives you what you need when you need it.
Totally. I always say too, astrology finds you when you're ready. If you're ever ready, like it's not going to be for everyone. That's okay. It saved me, and like when something works for you, what do they say? Like do what worked for you and put that out into the world. And that's why I feel like astrology is right for me. Like, when you're just, you're doing the right thing. Yeah. Like, don't you feel that? Like,
every day. Otherwise, I would have like deleted. I asked, first of all, I talk about that all the time. I'm like, work a 9 to 5, right? Like sit at a desk all day. And it's not me. But it's either
You could have done it with that Virgo Taurus. You could have gotten stuck. You would have been miserable.
I did it for fashion and I hated it.
Yeah, you would be really good at it, but doesn't mean you'd love it. You'd be very miserable. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was working in a showroom and I was $5 million over budget. Like I had gotten us $5 million more that season than we could have. Right?
Yeah.
We were 15, I got to 20, and I was miserable. I hated my life. I hated waking up. I had no purpose because it was soul crushing. Now I have never been more stressed in my life, but I've also never been. It's gonna be so cheesy. Never been more blessed. Never been more grateful to wake up and be able to say I get to choose what I do every day, and I also get to choose the people that I welcome in, because my number one motto, especially with my community, is everybody is welcome, but it's not my job to keep everyone here. And that's even a disclaimer I say. I'm like, I talk fast, I curse a lot, I have ADHD, my brain works differently. If it doesn't work for you, remove yourself, but you don't need to. And like, that's a big thing.
You're not. This is you.
It's me.
But that's why so many people stay, because you are like, you're even just teaching me right now the importance of like standing in your truth and being who you're meant to be, and who's meant to be at that table will be there.
100%. You got to remember, people project 99% of the time. Like almost every time you talk to somebody, it's a projection of what they're going through. They're putting it onto you. But then on top of that, a big thing that anxious folk do, which is it's also part of it, is when they get uncomfortable, the response is, you change around me because I don't know how to deal with this. So I don't like the way you speak. Like I get this all the time. People DM me of like, you speak too fast. You need to learn how to slow down. And it's like, or you can find another show, right? I don't need to concede who I am so that you are more comfortable in my presence.
Yep. Okay, so do you have any questions about astrology or anything about your chart, anything coming up that you're wanting to look at?
Yeah, I think specifically when I had that woman tell me a year and a half ago, like, this is going to be the best year for your career. And it was. Now where I'm at, like I lost the name of my show. I had to rename it. And like, of course, hindsight's 2020. You're like, I'm so grateful. Yay, I get to build that. At the time, I didn't believe that, right? Like I had a panic attack. I was a shell of myself. And for like the last 8 months, I've been trying to bounce back mentally because it took a hit. And so for me now, I'm like, where am I going? What's the feel? Like, of course, I know what I'm doing, but I don't want to be a stagnant of like, you're just a talking head on Instagram. So I'd love to know if there's anything in there about just career and what, if I can do anything different and or what I can look forward to.
Okay, so many things. First of all, and this is the biggest deal, I think, for both of us, actually, because I'm a Pisces rising, you're a Virgo rising. So we're opposites. Basically, the Pisces-Virgo axis, both of those signs, they're getting the most activity and attention throughout the next 3-ish years. We're really the star of the show right now. Because you're a Virgo rising and I'm a Pisces rising, we are going to feel this more personally than everyone else. If you have any major Virgo Pisces placements, you will feel this pretty personally as well. But basically, the nodes, which in astrology represent destiny and purpose, out of our control. It's not up to us. Those points, they're little mathematical points in our birth chart. It shows us where we've been and where we're going. So for you, it's interesting. The North Node right now is in Pisces. So it's actually in your 7th house. So right now, the focus where you're going is within your relationship. That is actually where you are meant to focus right now. I think too, in terms of maybe coworkers or having guests on your show, like the people that you're meeting, like that's where a lot of the attention right now is going. Also, maybe next steps with your partner, things like that. Yeah. However, the South Node is in Virgo, and that's actually what we're letting go of. That's where we've been. So I will say this, lots of change is actually upcoming, I know, but good change transitions, but also letting go of where you've almost been and like the work you've done and just being freaking proud of yourself and leaning on the people that, you know, you work with on a day-to-day. All you need to really know, you're not going to feel this energy every day, but over the next 3-ish years, there will be a change. And I know that sounds very vague, but you're going to feel it personally and notice it kind of approaching quickly. But Jupiter, we love Jupiter. He's the planet of opportunities and he just like makes things happen. He's like, here's a gift. And he is in your 10th house right now of career and public image.
Sweet.
Fame. The 10th house, it is the house of exposure. Like it is where people see us. Jupiter expands things. So when Jupiter transits our 10th house, we have a huge, almost overwhelming amount of opportunities within the working world. Like maybe you're just really busy, or maybe a lot's coming in, or maybe you're having a lot of creative insights and you're like, I want to do this and that and this and that. Like Jupiter, he brings a lot to the table. But he is going to be leaving June 9th. He'll be going into Cancer. But now through June, it's really a beautiful time to just like go all in on your career and to take risks and to take opportunities. Like if anything does come up, say yes, trust. Like I'm not saying to trust every contract that falls on your desk, but Jupiter, he's nice. He makes things work out. But then when it goes into your 11th house, that's when you'll be really seeing like action.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet, which all makes sense. Like I just left
lot
my
of
agency.
movement. Oh, yeah, good.
Got a new manager. Like everything
Great.
is shifting and evolving. And sometimes I'm moving in a month. Sometimes that's when I'm like, you know what, just let it happen.
Yes.
I remember when, I didn't know if I told you in 2022, like that's also something like I almost lost my mom in 2017 because she almost died from brain aneurysms. Then I lost my relationship a year later. That was really traumatic. Then in 2022, I was supposed to be on Shark Tank and they sent me home. And so I was home and crying. And then my dog passed away a month later.
Jeez.
It was one thing after another after another. That was the moment I realized and learned like you gotta just let some things happen. I can't control any of those variables. And it taught me how, expanded my window of tolerance to where now I can handle more. So hearing that, I'm like, okay, let's go. Suit up.
I'm
ready.
It. Yeah. And you're ready to share. I mean, you're obviously doing that, but like everything that you've been through, remember the Leo moon in the 12th. It's like your past and your vulnerabilities, all of that, you are meant to share it. It helps people. Yeah. And Jupiter in the 10th, it's going to give you a lot of opportunities to do that. Even us doing this right now is a perfect example of Jupiter being in your 10th. So just keep leaning into that and keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. You're making a difference. Like that's, I mean, Virgos love to control. I know the Virgo rising wants to control, but that was part of your lesson, you know, in this lifetime. Thank you so much for joining us. I absolutely loved this episode. I needed it. It was so therapeutic. So thank you.
Thank you for having me and thank you for doing what you do because you're also a light and a beacon to a lot of us out there who feel lost.